The war did not begin with fire or explosions. It began with silence. Across the Orion Reach, alien civilizations had fought for centuries. Technology was their language, power was their truth. When conflicts ended, it was not mercy that decided the winner, but efficiency. That was how the Coalition believed the universe worked. They had never met humans before. The battlefield near the blue star of Karath was filled with broken ships and drifting metal. Alien fleets had clashed with an unknown enemy that refused to fight like anyone else. The humans did not retreat when logic said they should. They did not surrender when defeat was certain. They stayed, they protected, they died standing. When the war finally stopped, both sides were exhausted. The Coalition had won on paper, but the cost was strange. Too many human ships had rammed enemy vessels to save others. Too many human soldiers had stayed behind so civilians could escape. It made no sense. The Coalition leaders ordered prisoners taken for study. Among the survivors was a single human transport ship, badly damaged but still moving. It carried refugees, medical supplies, and one child. The child's name was Elias. Elias was 9 years old. He had quiet eyes and small hands. He had lost his parents during the first attack, but he did not cry anymore. He had learned that crying did not stop the universe from breaking. When the Coalition intercepted the ship, they found something unexpected inside the cargo bay. A creature. It was massive, larger than any known war beast. Its body was covered in thick fur and deep scars. Metal restraints had been placed around its limbs by humans, not to torture it, but to stop it from harming itself. The creature was alive, but barely. Coalition scanners showed something impossible. The beast was not a weapon. It was a protector. Data logs recovered from the ship revealed the truth. During the war, the creature had shielded human colonies from orbital strikes. It had stood between falling debris and cities. It had absorbed energy blasts meant for millions. The humans had called it Guardian. The Coalition did not understand why a species would risk so much for a single creature. Still, curiosity overpowered judgment. The beast and the child were taken aboard a Coalition medical vessel. The doctors were the best in known space. They were not warriors. They were healers, scientists, masters of biology from dozens of advanced civilizations. They had saved stars from extinction. They had never failed, until now. Guardian lay on the medical platform, unconscious and broken. Internal damage spread through its body like shadows. Organs were failing. Bones were cracked beyond normal repair. Energy scars burned deep into its cells. The doctors worked without rest. They used regeneration fields. They used nanite repair systems. They used methods forbidden by law and reason. Nothing worked. Every treatment slowed the damage for a moment, then failed. The creature's body was rejecting every solution. One doctor, tall and silver-skinned, reviewed the data again and again. "This biology should not exist," he said. "It survives only by refusing to die." Another doctor replied, "That is not survival, that is will." They did not like that answer. Outside the medical chamber, Elias sat alone on a bench, his feet not touching the floor. He watched through the transparent barrier as machines surrounded Guardian. Lights blinked. Alarms whispered warnings in alien languages. No one spoke to the child. He was classified as non-essential, but Elias watched. He remembered the day Guardian had found him under the rubble of a destroyed city. The creature had gently lifted broken metal away, even while bleeding. It had placed Elias behind its massive body as explosions fell around them. Elias had pressed his small hands into Guardian's fur and felt a steady heartbeat. That heartbeat was fading now. Hours passed, then days. Finally, the lead doctor stepped back. His posture changed. His voice was quiet. "We have reached the limit," he said. "Further treatment will cause more pain without result." The room fell silent. Another doctor asked the question none of them wanted to ask. "Do we end life support?" The lead doctor hesitated. Ending life support was logical, mercy even, but something felt wrong. They were interrupted by a soft sound, footsteps. Elias had entered the chamber. Security systems had failed to stop him, or perhaps they had chosen not to. The child walked slowly toward the platform. He did not run, he did not cry. His eyes were focused only on Guardian. The doctors watched, confused and uneasy. "This is a restricted area," one said. Elias did not answer. He reached the platform and stood on a small step to reach Guardian's head. The creature's breathing was shallow. Its massive chest barely moved. Elias placed his hand gently on Guardian's fur. The monitors reacted instantly. Heart activity increased, neural signals spiked. Energy readings shifted in patterns the doctors had never recorded. "What is happening?" one doctor whispered. Elias leaned close and spoke softly. "I'm here," he said. The words were simple. They were not a command, they were not a medical instruction, but something changed. Guardian's claws twitched. The creature released a low sound, almost like a breath trying to become a voice. The doctors rushed to the consoles, fear and disbelief mixing in their expressions. "This is impossible," the lead doctor said. "No external stimulus should." Guardian's heartbeat stabilized. Damage did not vanish. Wounds did not close. But the downward collapse stopped. For the first time since entering the ship, Guardian was not dying. Elias stayed where he was, his hand unmoving. He did not know about biology or war or alien science. He only knew one thing. Guardian had never left him alone. So he would not leave Guardian. The coalition doctors stood frozen, staring at the data, at the child, at the creature that refused to die when a human was near. Somewhere deep in coalition command networks, alerts began to spread. Humanity had lost the war, but something far more dangerous had just been discovered. Humans did not fight with strength alone. They fought with connection. And the universe was not ready for that. The medical chamber did not feel the same anymore. Where once there had been quiet control and cold logic, now there was tension. The alien doctors moved faster, spoke softer, and watched the human boy more than the machines. Guardian was still unconscious, but its body had changed. The deep collapse inside its chest had slowed. The readings were not improving, but they were no longer falling. For alien medicine, this was failure. For humans, this was hope. The lead doctor stood near the console, his many eyes fixed on the data. "The child's presence is influencing the creature," he said, "but there is no chemical transfer, no energy exchange we can measure." Another doctor replied, "Then it must be psychological." "Psychology does not stop cellular collapse," the lead doctor said. Yet the evidence was in front of them. Elias sat beside the platform now, allowed to remain only because no one could explain what was happening. His legs swung slowly as he watched Guardian breathe. He spoke quietly from time to time, telling simple stories. He talked about the sky on Earth, about rain, about his mother's voice. The doctors did not understand the words. But Guardian did. Each time Elias spoke, the creature's heartbeat grew steadier. Its breathing became deeper, stronger. One of the younger doctors leaned closer to the lead doctor. "We should remove the child and see if the effect stops." The lead doctor did not answer right away. Testing variables was standard practice. Removing the child would confirm the cause. It was logical, it was clean, it was also dangerous. "If the effect reverses," the lead doctor said slowly, "we may not be able to bring it back." They decided to wait. Elsewhere on the ship, coalition officers were not pleased. "This is a waste of resources," said Commander Vesh, his voice sharp. "The creature is a weapon used by the enemy. The child is irrelevant." A scientist responded, "Commander, the creature did not act like a weapon. It protected civilian populations." "That is irrelevant," Vesh replied. "Humans are unpredictable. That makes them dangerous." Another officer spoke. "The medical team reports an anomaly. The human child is stabilizing the creature." Silence followed. "That is impossible," Vesh said, "and yet it is happening." Vesh's mandibles tightened. "Then isolate the variable." Orders were sent. In the medical chamber, warning lights flashed softly. The doors sealed. Elias felt the change before anyone spoke. A tall alien approached him slowly. "Child," it said in a translated voice, "we need you to step away." Elias looked up. "Why?" "To test something." Elias shook his head. "He needs me." The alien hesitated. No one had prepared a response for that. Security drones hovered closer. The lead doctor stepped forward. "Wait," he said. "Give me time." Commander Vesh's voice echoed through the chamber. "You have had enough time. Remove the child." Two drones moved in. Elias stood up quickly and placed both hands on Guardian's head. "No," he said. His voice was not loud. But it was firm. The monitors reacted instantly. Guardian's heart rate surged. Energy readings spiked beyond safe levels. The creature's eyes opened. They were deep, dark, and full of pain. Guardian released a sound that shook the chamber walls. It was not a roar, it was a warning. The drones froze, the doctors stepped back. Guardian tried to rise, but restraints held it in place. Still, its strength was terrifying. The metal bindings groaned under the pressure. "Stand down," the lead doctor shouted. "All of you!" The drones retreated. Guardian's breathing slowed again as Elias pressed his forehead against the creature's fur. "It's okay," Elias whispered. "I'm here." The creature relaxed. The room was silent except for the hum of machines. Commander Vesh did not speak for several long moments. Finally, his voice returned, colder than before. "This changes nothing," he said. "The creature remains a threat." The lead doctor responded, his voice steady. "No, Commander, this changes everything." Data began to pour in. Guardian's immune system was responding. Damaged tissue showed signs of adaptation. Not repair, but reinforcement. It was learning, adjusting, evolving. One doctor stared at the screen in disbelief. "It's not healing like us," he said. "It's enduring." The lead doctor nodded, and the child is the anchor. Across the ship, whispers spread among the crew. Humans were strange, weak in body, limited in technology, yet their presence changed outcomes. Where logic failed, something else took over: connection, bond. That frightened the coalition more than any weapon. Later, Elias was given a small room near the medical chamber. Guards were placed outside, but they kept their distance. An alien medic brought him food. Elias thanked her politely. "Why do you stay?" she asked softly. "The creature is not your species." Elias thought for a moment. "He stayed for me," he said. "That's what you do." The medic had no answer. Back in the medical chamber, Guardian slept, but its dreams were restless. Brain activity showed memories forming, emotions stirring. The lead doctor watched the data late into the cycle. He had studied countless species, but never this. Humans did not survive because they were strongest. They survived because they refused to abandon each other. A signal arrived from Coalition High Command. New orders. The creature was to be transported to a research facility. The child was to be separated. The lead doctor closed his eyes. He knew what would happen if Elias was taken away. Guardian might survive, or it might die, but something else would be lost forever, and humanity would remember. As the ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, Elias sat beside Guardian once more, unaware of the decision made above him. Guardian shifted slightly, as if sensing danger. The universe was watching now. And the next choice the coalition made would decide whether humans became allies, or something far worse. The transport to the research facility was silent. Guardian lay restrained inside a reinforced containment bay. The restraints were stronger than before, built with fear rather than care. Elias sat beside the platform, his small hands resting on the cold metal edge. He could feel the tension in the air even if he did not understand the reasons. Guardian was awake now. Its eyes followed every movement. It did not struggle, it did not attack. It only watched. The alien guards avoided looking at it. One of them whispered, "It knows." Another replied, "Everything knows when it is being hunted." The ship entered hyperspace. At the research facility, the structure floated alone in deep space, far from trade routes and civilian worlds. This was where the coalition studied things they did not trust. Commander Vesh was already there. "This facility exists to remove uncertainty," he said to the gathered scientists. "And humans are uncertainty made flesh." The lead doctor stepped forward. "Commander, separation of the child will destabilize the creature." "That is the point," Vesh replied. "We need to know what it becomes without him." Elias was escorted to a white room with smooth walls and soft light. There were no restraints, no pain, but the door sealed behind him with a sound that felt final. "Can I see him?" Elias asked. "Later," an alien voice replied. Later never felt real to Elias. In the containment bay, Guardian sensed the absence instantly. Its breathing changed. Heart rate rose. Neural patterns spiked in confusion and distress. The doctors watched as stability began to slip. "Levels are falling," one said. "The bond is breaking." Commander Vesh crossed his arms. "Continue." Guardian shifted, claws scraping against the restraints. A low sound filled the chamber, deep and filled with loss. For the first time, Guardian felt alone. The scientists began their scans. They probed its mind, its body, its history. And slowly something unexpected appeared: memories. Not simple instincts or battle reflexes, but complex emotional patterns. Guardian was not born in a lab. It had been created. Long ago, before humans ever reached the stars, an ancient species known as the Builders had faced extinction. Their technology was vast, but their numbers were small. They created Guardians not as weapons, but as shields. Living beings designed to protect life at any cost. The Builders were gone, but their creations remained. Guardian had wandered the stars alone for centuries, answering silent calls of danger. When human colonies were attacked, it had come without understanding why, until it met Elias. The bond was not accidental. Guardian had been designed to respond to connection, to purpose. Without it, the creature's systems began to collapse inward. Power surged without control. Strength rose, but balance vanished. Restraints failing, a scientist warned. Commander Vesh frowned. Increase suppression fields. They did, Guardian roared. This time it was pain. In the white room, Elias felt it. He pressed his hands against the wall. He's scared, he said softly. No one answered. Elias slid down to the floor and hugged his knees. He remembered Guardian standing against fire. He remembered being lifted from rubble. He remembered warmth. I'm coming, Elias whispered, even though he had no idea how. Back in the containment bay, alarms screamed. Guardian's strength was growing faster than systems could contain, but with the strength came instability. It was not becoming a monster, it was breaking. The lead doctor turned to Commander Vesh. You are not studying a weapon, he said. You are torturing a protector. Vesh hesitated just for a moment, then the restraint snapped. Guardian rose. It did not attack the scientists. It did not destroy the chamber. It turned toward the direction where Elias had been taken. Walls buckled. Security forces rushed in, weapons raised. Guardian stopped moving when it saw them. Its eyes were not filled with rage. They were filled with fear. Do not fire, the lead doctor shouted. You will only make it worse. But orders came faster than understanding. Energy weapons fired. Guardian shielded itself instinctively, energy washing over its body, systems overloaded. Pain surged. At the same time, Elias felt the pain like a weight on his chest. No, he cried, standing up. Stop! He ran to the door and pounded on it. I'm here, he shouted. I'm here. The door did not open. But Guardian heard him. Through layers of metal and force fields, the sound reached something deep inside the creature. Guardian froze. The energy fields flickered. Guardian lowered itself to the ground. The firing stopped. Everyone stood frozen. Commander Vesh stared at the data scrolling across the screens. The creature was stabilizing again, from a distance, through walls, through space. The bond still worked. The lead doctor turned slowly to Vesh. You cannot break what humans build with care, he said. Vesh said nothing. Later, Elias was brought back to the medical chamber. Guards followed, but they kept their distance now. As soon as Elias entered, Guardian relaxed fully. Its breathing deepened, the wild energy patterns smoothed. Elias climbed onto the platform and pressed his forehead to Guardian's. I knew you'd find me, he said. Guardian released a soft sound, almost peaceful. The scientists recorded everything. They no longer hid their fear. If a single human child could calm a being of such power, what could millions do? Coalition High Command demanded answers. What is humanity capable of? They asked. The answer frightened them. Humanity was capable of loyalty without limits, sacrifice without orders, connection without reason, and the universe had only seen the beginning. As the facility settled into uneasy quiet, Guardian rested, Elias beside him. Both knew something had changed. The Coalition could no longer pretend humans were weak. And soon they would have to decide whether to fear them or stand beside them. Since Elias was brought back to Guardian, everything had changed. The alarms were silent, but the tension was louder than before. Guards walked slower. Scientists spoke carefully. No one wanted to be the one who caused the next disaster. Guardian rested on the platform, no longer fighting the restraints. Its massive body rose and fell with steady breaths. The deep scars across its fur glowed faintly, no longer angry red but soft amber. Elias sat close, his back against Guardian's side. He was reading from a thin book given by one of the medics. He did not know why the aliens watched him so closely now. He only knew Guardian felt calmer when he stayed. The lead doctor reviewed the newest data. The creature's systems are reorganizing, he said quietly. Not healing, not degrading, adapting. Another scientist asked, adapting to what? The lead doctor looked at Elias. To humanity. Commander Vesh stood behind them silent. His confidence had faded. For the first time in his long service, he was facing something that could not be controlled with force. This bond, Vesh said slowly, is a weakness. No, the lead doctor replied. It is a strength, one we do not understand. Vesh turned away. Understanding was dangerous. Coalition High Command demanded a full report. The data sent was incomplete. The lead doctor chose his words carefully. He spoke of biological anomalies and unknown feedback loops, but he did not speak of loyalty or care. He knew how the Coalition reacted to things it feared. Meanwhile, in another section of the facility, a signal arrived from Earth. Human survivors had regrouped. The war had not ended for them. They believed Elias was dead. The Coalition intercepted the message. Humans are organizing, an officer reported. They are not attacking, they are building defenses. and they are asking about the child. Commander Vesh felt something twist inside him. They should not know he is alive. They do not, the officer replied, but they are looking. In the medical chamber, Guardian shifted slightly. Elias felt it and placed his hand on the creature's fur. "It's okay," he said softly. Guardian responded with a low sound, calm and steady. The lead doctor watched closely. The readings showed something new. Guardian's neural activity was no longer reactive. It was proactive. Decision-making centers were forming patterns similar to advanced species. "It's learning," he whispered. "Not from us." From him, a council meeting was called. Scientists, commanders, and observers filled the chamber. Elias was not invited. Guardian remained monitored but untouched. "We must decide," Commander Vesh began. "This creature cannot remain under the influence of a human. The risk is too great." "And what is the risk?" the lead doctor asked. "That humanity gains leverage," Vesh replied. "That they learn how powerful connection can be." Another council member spoke. "Or we gain allies." Silence followed. Allies required trust. Trust was rare. Vesh ended the discussion. "We will continue observation, no further separation, no further experiments." The lead doctor nodded. It was a small victory. Later, an alien medic sat with Elias during a meal. "Do you miss your people?" she asked. Elias thought for a moment. "Yes," he said, "but Guardian needs me now." "Why?" she asked gently. Elias shrugged. "Because he stayed." The medic felt something shift inside her. She had saved thousands of lives, but none of them had ever said that. That cycle, something unexpected happened. Guardian moved on its own, not violently, not in panic. It adjusted its position so Elias could rest more comfortably against its side. The scientists froze. "That was intentional," one whispered. Guardian's eyes opened and focused on Elias. Recognition, choice. The lead doctor felt awe and fear mixed together. "The builders created protectors," he said, "but humans taught one how to care." Across the facility, emergency signals activated. Long-range sensors detected multiple unknown vessels entering the system. Human ships. They were damaged, mismatched, barely armed, but they came anyway. "They are here for the child," an officer said. Commander Vesh stared at the display. They would challenge the coalition for one human? The answer was obvious. Yes. The facility went into lockdown. Guardian sensed the change immediately. Its body tensed, but it did not rise. Elias looked up. "They're scared," he said. "All of them?" Guardian made a soft sound. The lead doctor turned to Vesh. "If you harm the child now," he said, "you will not face an enemy fleet." "What will I face?" Vesh asked. The doctor looked at Guardian. "A universe that learns what humans do when they protect their own." Outside, human ships formed a loose defensive line. They did not fire. They sent a message. "We are here for Elias," the message said. "We will not leave him." The coalition hesitated. In the medical chamber, Elias placed both hands on Guardian's fur. "Can you help?" he asked softly. Guardian's system surged, not in rage, but in clarity. Energy stabilized, power focused. The creature stood fully for the first time without resistance. Restraints unlocked automatically. No alarms sounded. The facility did not try to stop it. Guardian moved slowly, carefully, making sure Elias was safe. The scientists watched in silence as history changed. Guardian was no longer a weapon. It was a choice, and that choice was humanity. Commander Vesh closed his eyes. He knew the coalition had already lost something far more important than a war. They had underestimated the one thing humans never lost: each other. The facility felt small now. Guardian stood tall in the center of the medical chamber, its massive form blocking the light panels above. Elias stood close, one hand holding Guardian's fur, the other resting against its chest. The creature did not move unless Elias moved first. Outside the station, human ships waited. They did not threaten. They did not fire. They waited. Commander Vesh watched the tactical display in silence. The humans were weak compared to the coalition fleet. Any direct conflict would end quickly, but Vesh knew the truth now. Destroying those ships would not end the problem. It would create something worse. "They are asking again," an officer said. "They want the child returned." Vesh did not answer. In the medical chamber, the lead doctor stood near Guardian, his voice calm. "The creature is stable," he said. "More than stable, it is complete." "What does that mean?" asked another scientist. "It means the bond is no longer temporary," the lead doctor replied. "Guardian is no longer dependent, it has chosen." That word echoed through the room. Chosen, Guardian's eyes followed Elias as he took a step forward. The creature adjusted instantly, lowering its body so the child did not need to reach. Elias smiled faintly. "You're better now," he said. Guardian released a deep, gentle sound. The doctors exchanged uneasy looks. The creature was no longer reacting, it was deciding. Commander Vesh entered the chamber. All movement stopped. He looked at Guardian, then at Elias. "You have caused great disruption," Vesh said. Elias looked up. "I didn't mean to," he said quietly. Vesh paused. The answer was not defiance, it was honesty. "The coalition fears what it does not control," Vesh said. "This creature is beyond control." Elias shook his head. "He listens," he said. "You just don't talk to him right." Silence filled the room. The lead doctor lowered his gaze. Vesh felt something tighten in his chest. Outside, alarms sounded softly. Not attack alarms, communication alerts. A new message arrived from Earth. Human leaders had learned the truth. The child was alive. The coalition had him. "They are not threatening," an officer reported. "They are offering cooperation." Vesh almost laughed. After everything, the humans still reached out. "What do they want?" he asked. "The child," the officer said. "And the creature, they claim it belongs with humanity." In the chamber, Guardian shifted. It sensed tension. Elias placed his hand against its side. "It's okay," he whispered. Guardian's energy readings stabilized immediately. The lead doctor spoke quietly. "Commander, the humans are not demanding, they are trusting." Vesh turned sharply. "Trust is a weakness." "No," the doctor replied. "It is a risk." Guardian suddenly lowered its head toward Vesh. Every guard raised their weapon. Elias stepped forward instantly. "No," he said firmly. Guardian stopped. The chamber held its breath. Guardian looked at Elias, then slowly turned back to Vesh. Its eyes were calm. A projection formed in the air, built from energy patterns and memory fragments. Images appeared. Guardian shielding human cities. Guardian standing alone against orbital fire. Guardian finding Elias beneath rubble. Guardian staying. The message was clear. Guardian was not owned. It had chosen its people. Commander Vesh felt the weight of it press down on him. This was not a weapon. This was not an experiment. This was a Guardian in the truest sense. "What will you do if we refuse?" Vesh asked quietly. The journey back to human space was slow. The ships were damaged, old, and barely holding together, but none of that mattered. Elias sat inside the transport bay, leaning against Guardian's side. The creature's massive body filled the space, yet it moved with care, always aware of the child beside it. Human crew members watched from a distance. Some were afraid. Some were in awe. Most were simply quiet. They had heard the stories. How alien doctors failed. How the child had changed everything. But seeing Guardian with their own eyes was different. This was not a weapon. This was not a monster. This was a protector. When the fleet reached human-controlled space, word spread faster than any signal. Refugee stations, broken colonies, and scattered fleets all received the same message. Elias was alive, and he was not alone. The first human world they reached was small and damaged. Cities were still being rebuilt. People gathered in silence as Guardian stepped onto the surface. There were no cheers at first, just staring. Guardian lowered itself slowly, making itself smaller, less threatening. Elias stepped forward and held up his hand. "It's okay," he said. "He won't hurt anyone." The crowd believed him. They always had. Guardian stayed near the edges of the city, helping where it could. It lifted heavy debris. It shielded workers from unstable structures. It stood still during storms so others could take cover behind it. It never asked for thanks. Elias stayed close, speaking softly, guiding without commands. Over time, fear faded. Children approached first, then families, then leaders. Human scientists studied Guardian carefully, but differently than the coalition had. They did not push, they did not separate, they asked. Guardian responded, not with words but with actions. Records were shared across human space. The truth about the war spread. Humanity had not lost because it was weak. It had survived because it stayed together, and the universe was watching. Coalition observers reported back to their leaders. Humans were not building superweapons. They were rebuilding homes. They were not using Guardian to threaten. They were protecting. Commander Vesh received the reports in silence. He watched recordings of Guardian standing between a broken city and a collapsing sky. He watched Elias guide rescue teams, his small hand always resting against the creature. The Coalition Council asked Vesh a final question. Was releasing them a mistake? Vesh answered without hesitation. "No," he said, "it was a warning." Years passed. Guardian healed not by technology but by purpose. Its scars remained, but they no longer burned. Its strength did not fade. It stabilized. It had found its people. Elias grew older. He learned to read better. He learned history. He learned that not all wars were fought with weapons. Some were fought with choice. Guardian stayed by his side. When Elias spoke at councils, Guardian stood behind him. When Elias visited wounded worlds, Guardian went first, clearing the way. When Elias slept, Guardian rested nearby, always watching. Humanity began to change. They built alliances instead of empires. They offered aid instead of threats. And when danger came, they stood together. Other species noticed. Slowly, carefully, they reached out. Not to Guardian, to humans. They wanted to understand what the coalition had failed to see. The answer was simple. Humans did not abandon their own. One day, Elias stood at the edge of a rebuilt city, older now, taller. Guardian stood beside him, its shadow stretching far across the ground. "Do you ever wish you were somewhere else?" Elias asked. Guardian made a soft sound. Elias smiled. "Me neither." Far across the stars, the coalition adjusted its strategies. They no longer planned for domination of human space. They planned for cooperation. They had learned the cost of misunderstanding humanity. Humanity did not conquer. Humanity connected, and those who stood beside them were stronger for it. As the sun set over the city, Guardian remained still, a living wall between danger and life. Elias stood with him, calm and steady. The universe had once believed humans were weak. Now it knew better. When alien doctors failed,